Welcome back to Waking Nightmare. This story is going to be a little bit shorter because I want to get better with my narration before I get into longer stories. So let's begin. I'd been sitting in that same chair for 11 years. Same console, same view of Triton's ice fields through the observation deck. Same coffee that tasted like recycled water because that's basically what it was. The Interstellar Communications Array station wasn't much to look at, just a metal tube stuck in Neptune's orbit. Spinning slow enough that you didn't puke, but fast enough to keep your feet on the deck. 36 of us up there, monitoring signals from humanity's expansion into the outer system. That's what they called it in the recruitment posters. Really, we just sat around cataloging radio chatter and following the weird stuff the Earth command. Most days, I'd log maybe 3 anomalies, solar flares messing with the transmissions, equipment malfunctions on mining ships, drunk asteroid prospectors broadcasting poetry at 2 a.m. I figured I'd gotten pretty good at the routine. Coffee at 2100, check the overnight reports, calibrate the receivers, monitor the feeds until dawn shift showed up. 11 years of the same thing. I wasn't complaining, I liked the quiet. Tuesday morning changed that. I was 3 hours into my graveyard shift with every single receiver locked onto the same coordinates. 40 light years out, all of them, just clicked over like someone had flipped a switch. That bugged me a little. Our equipment wasn't supposed to do that. Each receiver monitored a different sector. You would need some kind of massive signal to pull all 37 arrays in the same direction. Problem was, these coordinates had been classified as empty space 15 years ago, during the initial survey. Nothing there, not even a rogue asteroid. I pulled up the data and that's when things got really weird. We weren't picking up a signal, we were picking up silence. Perfect silence. A sphere of absolutely nothing about 3 light hours across, expanding outward at maybe 60% the speed of light. You have to understand, space isn't quiet. There's cosmic background radiation everywhere, stellar wind, radio noise from billion sources scattered across the galaxy, but this thing was eating all of that. Creating a void, there should have been something. I ran a diagnostics on the receivers, all green. Checked the calibration logs, everything normal. The void was real and it was growing. I probably should have called Denise right away, but I spent 20 minutes just staring at the readings. Geometric expansion. Perfect sphere, no natural phenomenon worked like that. Natural voids don't just expand with accuracy like that. When I finally buzzed her, she showed up in the monitoring bay within 5 minutes. Denise had been running this station for 8 years, and I'd never seen her move that fast. "Show me," she said. I walked her through the data, the void, the expansion rate, the perfect progression that made my skin crawl. "You're certain this isn't an equipment failure?" "Ran every diagnostic we have, it's real." She stood there for maybe 30 seconds, arm crossed, staring at the display. Then she pulled up the emergency protocol and sent a priority transmission to Earth Command. Full data packet. Anomaly classification Alpha 7. The response came back in 43 minutes. Research vessel Meridian was being dispatched with orders to investigate. 6-hour window to intercept the expanding boundary. That's when Denise said something that stuck with me. "Perfect silence in space is more dangerous than any noise, Albert. Natural voids don't expand with accuracy." I've been monitoring deep space transmissions for over a decade, and I've never seen anything like this. Radio shadows from stellar objects? Sure. Interference patterns from solar activity? But a growing sphere of absolute nothing that moved like it had been designed? The Meridian's departure confirmation came through at 0615. Captain Santos, crew of 12, estimated arrival at the void boundary in 18 hours. Standard scientific survey mission with enhanced communication protocols. I watched their ship trajectory on the tactical display. A tiny blue dot moving toward a sphere of nothing that was expanding faster than anything in nature should expand. That's when it hit me. I'd been analyzing anomalies for 11 years, and this wasn't just another glitch in the cosmic background noise. This was something unprecedented, something that didn't belong in the universe I thought I understood. I'd been tracking the Meridian through the long-range scopes, watching that tiny dot crawl across my screen while Larry Santos sent regular updates. They were making good time towards the coordinates I gave them. The scope feed weren't great at that distances, mostly just position data and the occasional visual confirmation when the light hit right. But I could track their progress, mark their position against the expanding boundary of silence that kept growing behind them. Larry's transmissions came in every 6 hours. Course corrections, status reports, crew morale updates, professional stuff. The kind of chatter you'd expect from a military vessel on a long burn towards something nobody understood. Then they reached it. "Control, this is Meridian." Larry's voice cracked through my headset. I'd been drinking that recycled coffee and watching the scope readings when his transmission came in. "We're approaching the boundary coordinates. Visual contact established." I leaned forward. The long-range scope showed their position marker right at the edge of the silence zone. "Describe what you're seeing, Meridian." Larry paused for a long moment. "It's like looking at the edge of existence itself. There's a definitive line where space just stops. No stars visible beyond it, no background radiation. Our instruments are reading absolute zero on all electromagnetic spectrums past that threshold." I checked my own readings. He was right. Every sensor array I had pointed at that region showed the same thing. Complete electromagnetic void beyond a specific coordinate line. "Meridian, are you experiencing any system malfunctions?" "Negative. All systems nominal, but our forward sensors are registering something impossible. Light itself appears to stop at this boundary. Visible spectrum, radio waves, even cosmic background radiation, it all just ends." That's when things got weird. Larry's next transmission came in broken. His voice sounded different. Strained, maybe. "Control, we're crossing the threshold now. The crew is reporting disorientation, visual distortions, some kind of sensory disruption. It's like reality is..." The transmission cut to static. I tried raising them on every frequency. Nothing. The position marker on my scope showed the Meridian had crossed into the silence zone, and that was it. They were gone. Not destroyed or damaged, just gone. Earth Command didn't waste time. Within the week, they'd authorized 3 more missions. Different approach this time. Multiple vessels, different ship classes, staggered deployment. The destroyer Valiant went first, Angela Castro commanding. I'd monitored her before on patrol missions near Jupiter. Aggressive captain, liked to push her engine harder than recommended. She reached the boundary in 10 days. Same thing happened. Her final transmission described crossing an invisible wall where physics stops working. Then nothing. 2 weeks later, the science ship Aurora followed. Grayson Watkins in command. He was more careful, took readings all the way to the boundary. His last message was longer, more detailed. He described how their instrument detected a complete absence of electromagnetic phenomena beyond the threshold. Then his voice got the same strained quality Larry's had. "Control, we're experiencing severe cognitive dissonance. The crew is reporting that their visual cortex can't process what they're seeing beyond this point. It's not darkness, it's the absence of the concept of light itself." And then silence. The heavy cruiser Defiant was the last one. Maya Bennett, commanding the whole operation by then. Fleet Admiral, a lot of experience with deep space missions. She lasted longer than the others, sent back detailed sensor logs right up until the moment they crossed. "All hands report complete sensory shutdown beyond visual range," was her final transmission. Whatever this phenomenon is, it appears to negate the basic electromagnetic foundations of reality itself. After that, I stopped getting visitors. No more briefings, no more mission authorizations, just me and the scopes, tracking that expanding void as it grew larger every day. I'd watch it during my shifts, map its growth, calculate its expansion rate, track how it devoured everything in its path. Stars would disappear as the boundary reached them, not explode, not fade out, just stop existing in any detectable way. The math was simple enough. The sphere was growing at a consistent rate, consuming roughly 3.7 astronomical units per month. At that speed, it would reach Neptune's orbit in 18 months. I kept those calculations in a file on my personal drive. Didn't see much point in filing official reports anymore. Who was I going to send them to? The void just kept expanding, eating stars like they were nothing, like spreading blindness across the cosmos, turning everything into the same impossible nothingness that had swallowed 4 ships and their crews. Stevie Green looked like he hadn't slept in days when he showed up at my station. His lab coat was wrinkled and there was coffee stains on the front. 3 of them. I counted because that's what I do when I'm nervous. You need to see this, he said. No greeting, no small talk. That was Stevie. He plugged his tablet into my secondary monitor and started pulling up files. Archived probe data, deep space telemetry. The kind of stuff that gets buried in databases because nobody thinks it's significant anymore. The empty region, he said. It wasn't always empty. I figured he was talking about some old stellar formation, maybe a nebula that dissipated. That happens sometimes. Space changes, stars die, gas clouds drift apart, but then he showed me the data. 15 years ago, there had been something down there. Not just random matter floating around. Cities, orbital structures, energy signatures that look like industrial activity. A whole civilization doing whatever civilizations do when they're busy being alive. This was taken by the Kepler-7 probe, Stevie said, tapping the screen. Standard deep space survey, look at the timestamps. I looked. The reading showed massive construction projects, Dyson swarms around 3 different stars, communication networks spanning light years, population centers that must have housed billions. Then I scrolled to the next entry. Nothing. Not gradual decline, not evacuation signatures, not even debris. One moment there were cities, and the next moment there was absolutely nothing. Like someone had hit delete on an entire star system. When did this happen? I asked. 15 years ago, almost exactly. That's when it hit me. The timing wasn't random. We weren't watching the silence start. We were watching it arrive. Light takes time to travel. 15 years for the signal to reach us from that distance, which meant whatever had happened there, whatever had erased those cities and those billions of lives had been expanding towards us this whole time, moving at light speed and getting closer every second. How long do we have? I asked. Stevie just shook his head. Denise wants everyone in conference room B, now. The walk down the corridor felt longer than usual. My footsteps echoed off the metal walls. Standard station sounds, ventilation, power hum, distance conversations, but everything seemed muted, like the universe was holding its breath. Denise was already there when we arrived. Leo Park sat across from her with calculation sheets spread in front of him. Wendy Luna had her communications console open, monitoring channels. Sit, Denise said. I sat. Leo's been running the numbers, she said. Based on Stevie's archaeological data and our current observations, Leo looked up from his papers. His face was pale. It's nanotechnology, he said. Self-replicating, exponential expansion. Whatever this thing is, it doesn't just destroy matter, it converts it. Converts it into what? Wendy asked. More of itself, Leo said. The silence isn't empty space, it's structured, organized. It's turning everything it touches into expansion material. I thought about the Meridian, about Larry Santos and his crew, about the way their signal had just stopped. The acceleration, I said. It's getting faster. Leo nodded. I've been tracking the expansion rate. It was moving at a steady light speed for 15 years, but in the last 48 hours, something changed. He pulled up a projection on the main screen. The silent sphere growing, eating space. Original calculations put contact with our system at 18 months, he said, but the expansion rate is increasing, exponential growth. How long? Denise asked. 6 days. 6 days? I stared at Leo's numbers, double-checked his math in my head. He was right. The thing was accelerating, growing faster as it got bigger. More matter to convert meant more conversion capability. That's when I remembered the Meridian's final transmission. I had been authorized to review their classified telemetry after the communication loss, standard protocol for monitoring stations, but I hadn't looked at it yet because I'd been too busy tracking the expansion. Now, I needed to see what Larry Santos had found before his ship went silent. I'll be right back, I said. Denise looked at me. Where are you going? To check something. I walked back to my station, pulled up the classified files, command authorization, retinal scan, voice confirmation, the whole security theater. Then I accessed the Meridian's final data burst. What I found made my hands shake. The ship hadn't been destroyed, they had been converted, transformed into something else. Structures that expanded the silence boundary faster than natural propagation. Living ships turned into expansion nodes. And at the bottom of the file, buried in the mission's parameter, was a note from Earth Command. Acceptable losses for intelligence gathering. Proceed as planned. They had known. They had sent those ships knowing exactly what would happen to them. 4 crews. 43 people sacrificed to gather data about something that was going to kill us all anyway. I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling something break inside my chest. Not just fear now, something worse. The understanding that we were completely alone. The pieces finally clicked together around 3 in the morning. I'd been staring at Stevie's data for hours, cross-referencing it with the transmission fragments we'd pulled from the dead ships. The silence wasn't trying to kill us, it was trying to save us. The original civilization, whoever built those ships we'd found scattered in the boundary zone, they'd created this thing on purpose, not as a weapon, as a quarantine protocol. The fragments were warnings, not threats, technical specifications for contaminant procedures. Self-replicating nanotechnology, that's what the warnings were about. Some kind of grey goo scenario that had gotten loose in their system. The kind of thing that eats planets for breakfast and keeps going until there's nothing left but copies of itself. The silence was their solution. A sphere of absolute technological death that would expand just far enough to contain the outbreak, then stop. Except we'd broken it. Our ships had punched through using fusion drives and quantum communication arrays. Human technology that original builders never accounted for. Each time we sent a ship, we gave the boundary new information, new ways to adapt and spread. We had turned their perfect quarantine into a growing infection. I ran the number 3 times. The math was solid. Depressing as hell, but solid. Denise showed up around 5 with fresh coffee and dark circles under her eyes. She took one look at my screen and went pale. Evacuation protocols, she said. Now. Already calculated the trajectories, I said. Won't work. She frowned. What do you mean it won't work? Nearest safe distance is 47 AU. Our shuttles can manage maybe 15 AU before running out of fuel. I pulled up the acceleration curves. We'd need some military-grade engines and twice the reaction mass we've got stored. There has to be something. I had been thinking about that too. Running simulations in my head while the data crunched on screen. There was one option. Stupid as hell, but it might work. Station's fusion reactor, I said. If I overload it at the right moment, the gravitational distortion could deflect the boundary's expansion vector. Maybe 3 degrees off course, enough to miss the inner system entirely. Denise stared at me. That would destroy the station. Yeah. And anyone still on it. Yeah. She was quiet for a long time. Then she started barking orders over the comms system. Emergency evacuation, all non-essential personnel to the shuttles immediately. Essential personnel had 6 hours to secure critical data and equipment. I spent those 6 hours reconfiguring the reactor's containment fuel generators. The work was tricky, had to disable 17 safety protocols without triggering an automatic shutdown. Had to reroute power from the communications array to the magnetic bottle controls. Had to jerry-rig a manual trigger that would cascade the whole system in about 15 seconds. My hands shook a little while I worked, not from fear exactly, more like the weight of what I was doing. 11 years I'd sat in that chair, watching the stars. Now, I was about to blow it all up. The evacuation went faster than expected. Most of the staff were gone by noon on the second day, just me, Denise, and a couple of technicians finishing data transfers. By evening, it was just me and Denise. Shuttle's prepared, she said. Leo's waiting. You go ahead. Albert, someone needs to trigger this thing manually. The timing has to be perfect. She stood there in the doorway looking stubborn. That expression I'd seen her use on an uncooperative equipment and bureaucrats from Earth. I'm not leaving you. Yeah, you are. The boundary was visible now through the observation deck, not like a wall or a sphere, more like absolute nothing eating the stars one by one. A growing patch of emptiness where space used to be. I grabbed Denise's arm and walked her to the airlock. She fought with me the whole way, but I'm stronger than I look, and she knew I was right about the math. I said, sealing her helmet. Make sure they understand. The shuttle undocked 10 minutes later. The boundary touched our outer hull at exactly 11:47 p.m. station time. I watched it through the cameras until they went dark. Then I triggered the overload. The reactor went critical in stages. Magnetic containment failed first, then the plasma bottle collapsed. Then the fusion reaction went wild and ate itself. The whole station twisted apart in about 3 seconds, but the math worked out. The gravitational pulse kicked the boundary just enough, 3 degrees off course. heading for empty space instead of Earth. I felt the heat hit my back as the bulkhead behind me turned to vapor. That was it.